You ever look at your life, at your education, at how smart you are, and just ask yourself that one really annoying question? It's a thought that honestly keeps a lot of brilliant people up at night. Well, today, we are going to tear that question apart and get to the bottom of it.
But what if we flip the whole thing on its head? What if the very thing you consider your greatest asset, your intelligence, is secretly the one thing holding you back from the wealth you feel you deserve? It's a wild idea, right? But according to our source material, it's a reality for millions of people.
And that leads us right into our first big idea here. We're going to explore this fascinating concept called the intelligence-wealth paradox. It really gets to the heart of why so many sharp minds feel like they're just spinning their wheels financially. So what is this thing exactly? Well, the paradox basically describes this strange, kind of upside-down world where people with super high IQs often struggle to build wealth. Meanwhile, you've got folks with, let's say, average intelligence. You know, the C student who went and started a local plumbing business, and they're out there becoming millionaires. It's a real, recognized phenomenon, and honestly, it explains so much.
And here's where you see the paradox play out in the real world. The source material for this looked at hundreds of people and found these really clear patterns. On one side, you have high IQ folks who get completely stuck in what's called analysis paralysis. You know, they'll spend 6 months researching the perfect stock instead of just buying a basic index fund. And on the other side, you've got these millionaires. They might not have the fancy degrees, but they are masters of taking decisive action. For them, doing is way more important than thinking about doing.
So that just begs the question, right? Why? Why does this happen? To really get that, we need to look under the hood. So in this next part, we are going to unpack the specific psychological traps, what our source calls your smartest handicaps, that are keeping intelligent people from getting rich.
Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. Your brain is not the enemy here. Your raw intelligence is an incredible, powerful tool. The problem is how you've been taught to use it. And a lot of the time, that training comes from the very systems that were supposed to make you smarter.
Okay, so our source points to 3 main culprits, 3 mindsets that are actually rewarded in almost every part of life except when it comes to building wealth. And they are analytical thinking, perfectionism, and academic conditioning. Let's break each of these down.
So first up, analytical thinking. In school or in a highly technical job, this is your superpower, right? But when you're looking at a financial opportunity, it can make you dissect it from every possible angle until, poof, the opportunity is gone. As the source material puts it, you can literally think your way to financial mediocrity. Ouch. Next on the list is perfectionism. You know this one. It's that burning desire to have the perfect business plan, the perfect investment strategy, the perfect moment to launch. What that really creates is an intense fear of failure. But here's the thing. Wealth is almost always built on good enough decisions made at the right time. If you wait for perfect, you're just waiting forever.
And finally, number 3, academic conditioning. Think about it. Since you were a kid, you were taught to study, memorize, master the theory. You get an A+ for having the right answers, not for going out and taking messy, imperfect action. But the real world of business and investing? It's all about that messy, practical action.
Okay, that was a little heavy, I know. We've laid out the problem, but what's the solution? This is where it starts to get really exciting. Let's move on to our next section, rewiring for wealth. This is all about taking back control and finally making your intelligence work for you, not against you.
And let's be super clear about this. Nobody is saying you should be less smart. That's ridiculous. The real solution is about upgrading your mental software. It's about installing new mental models, like, say, shifting from a "I need the one perfect answer" mindset to a "let me just test this and see" approach. It's about using practical tools designed for building wealth.
So what does that path actually look like? Well, the source lays out a pretty simple 3-step process. First, it's all about self-awareness. You have to be honest and figure out which of these handicaps are running the show in your own life. From there, you consciously start adopting new ways of thinking. And then finally, the goal is to leverage your intelligence, to point it like a laser beam at the goal of creating wealth, instead of letting it get you stuck in a trap.
And that, right there, is the whole mission. The goal is to make this fundamental shift, to turn what might have been a source of total frustration into your single most powerful financial weapon. It's about flipping the switch.
All of this brings us to our final section, which I think frames this whole idea in a really powerful way. I want you to think of everything we've talked about as the essential guide that your entire education just left out.
And the most important thing here is that this isn't more abstract theory for you to analyze. No, it's positioned as the actual user manual for your brain that you should have gotten on graduation day. You know, the one that explains how to take all that intelligence and actually apply it in the real-world economy.
So who is this really for? Well, it's for that frustrated professional out there who did everything right, followed all the rules, but just isn't seeing the financial results. It's for the ambitious entrepreneur who is completely paralyzed by perfectionism. And really, it's for anyone who's ever felt that huge gap between how smart they are and what their bank account says.
And so, we're going to end right back where we started, with a question that I really want to leave you with. After everything we've just gone through, it is worth asking yourself one more time, is your greatest asset actually your biggest obstacle? Because the answer to that, well, it could change everything.